Most fathers want to do a good job. The problem isn't lack of care, it's confusion. There is a lot of noise around fatherhood. Social media, opinions, pressure to be everything at once. That noise leaves many working men feeling like they're falling short, even when they're doing more than they realize. So the first thing a forged mind does is strip fatherhood down to what actually matters. Not trends, not guilt, not comparison, just reality. Research on child development is remarkably consistent on this point. Children do not need perfect fathers. They need consistent ones. They need predictability. They need safety. They need emotional regulation modeled in front of them. And they need it over time. Children benefit most from fathers who are reliably present, not constantly entertaining. This is an important distinction. A father's role is not to be a performer. It is to be a stable presence. Studies on child development show that children thrive when at least one adult provides a consistent emotional baseline. That baseline comes from routines, tone, and behavior, not big moments. A forged mind understands that fatherhood is built in ordinary days, driving them somewhere, eating meals together, handling frustration without exploding, showing up when tired. Children learn safety from repetition. They learn trust by watching how often you follow through. This is why reliability matters more than intensity. A father who shows up calmly most days provides more security than one who swings between extremes. Another key truth many men miss is this. Children are highly sensitive to emotional states. They may not understand words, but they understand tone. They read posture, facial expression, energy. A father who manages his emotions, even imperfectly, teaches his children how to manage theirs. This is not about suppressing emotion. It's about regulation. Children benefit from seeing frustration handled without loss of control. This teaches them that pressure is survivable, that mistakes are correctable, that authority does not require fear. Research consistently shows that children with involved fathers demonstrate better emotional regulation, stronger social skills, and higher confidence. But involved does not mean hovering. It means engaged. Engagement can be quiet. It can be simple. It can happen in short windows. What matters is that your child knows you are attentive when you are there. Another important point is presence without distraction. Children quickly learn when they are competing with phones, screens, or stress. Even small amounts of focused attention matter. 10 minutes of undivided attention is more valuable than an hour of partial attention. This is especially important for working men with limited time. You don't need more hours. You need clearer moments. Children also benefit from structure. They feel safer when expectations are clear, when routines are predictable, when consequences are consistent. This doesn't require harshness. It requires steadiness. A forged mind brings discipline into fatherhood not as control, but as stability. Children test boundaries not because they want chaos, but because they want reassurance. Consistent responses provide that reassurance. Inconsistent responses create anxiety. This is why fatherhood cannot be improvised day to day. It must be grounded in standards, not rigid rules, standards, standards of behavior, standards of response, standards of follow-through. The goal of fatherhood is not to be liked in every moment. The goal is to be trusted over time. Children who trust their father feel secure. Security is the foundation for confidence, independence, and resilience. In the next section, we'll talk about why consistency, not heroic effort, is the single most important factor in becoming a good father, especially when time and energy are limited. Stay steady. Section 2. Consistency beats intensity. Most fathers believe that what matters most are the big moments. Vacations, special outings, birthdays done right, weekend plans that make up for the week. Those moments are meaningful, but they are not the foundation. Children don't build security from intensity. They build it from consistency. Child development research shows that predictability is one of the strongest contributors to a child's sense of safety. When routines are stable and responses are reliable, children feel grounded. They know what to expect. They know where they stand. This matters more than occasional bursts of effort. A father who is emotionally present most days, even briefly, creates more trust than one who shows up sporadically with high energy and big plans. Consistency tells a child, "You are not dependent on my mood." That message matters. When parenting becomes inconsistent, children adapt by staying alert. They watch closely. They test boundaries more often. They become uncertain about outcomes. This isn't misbehavior. It's insecurity. Children push limits to understand where the limits actually are. Consistency answers that question calmly. Intensity does not. Intensity often comes with exhaustion, and exhaustion leads to unpredictability. A tired father may overcorrect one day and disengage the next. He may be strict when stressed and permissive when worn down. From a child's perspective, this feels confusing. A forged mind recognizes that fatherhood is not about matching energy to emotion. It's about maintaining standards regardless of how the day went. Consistency doesn't require long hours. It requires regularity. Small actions, repeated daily, build familiarity. Familiarity builds trust. Trust builds security. Security allows children to develop confidence and independence. This is why consistent routines matter. Simple things done at roughly the same time each day. Meals, bedtime, short conversations, signal stability. They tell a child that life has a rhythm, that someone is paying attention, that someone is in control. Children thrive in environments where at least one adult provides that rhythm. Intensity, on the other hand, can overwhelm. Big emotional swings, overexcitement followed by withdrawal, teach children to associate connection with unpredictability. That's not the lesson you want to pass on. A forged mind chooses steady engagement over emotional extremes. Another common mistake fathers make is overcompensating. They miss time during the week and try to make up for it all at once. This often leads to burnout and frustration. And when burnout hits, consistency breaks again. Children don't need you to make up time. They need you to protect what time you have. 10 consistent minutes a day is more powerful than a long, irregular stretch once a week. That's not opinion. It's how trust forms. Consistency also applies to discipline. Rules that exist one day and disappear the next create confusion. Children don't learn responsibility from unpredictable enforcement. They learn it from clear expectations applied calmly over time. This doesn't mean rigid parenting. It means dependable parenting. A forged mind understands that consistency is a form of respect. It respects the child's need for clarity. It respects the family structure. It respects the role of fatherhood as something larger than momentary feelings. Consistency also protects the father. When standards are clear, decision-making becomes easier. You don't negotiate every situation, you respond. This reduces mental load, which matters when energy is limited. Many men believe they need to be more energetic to be better fathers. In reality, they need to be more consistent. Energy fluctuates. Standards endure. A forged mind plans fatherhood around endurance, not performance. That means accepting that some days will be quiet, some days will be short, but the presence remains. Over time, children internalize this. They stop testing as much. They trust more. They feel safer exploring the world because they know where home stands. Consistency builds the invisible framework that supports everything else. In the next section, we'll talk about presence versus passive time, and why being physically there is not the same as being mentally available. Stay steady. Section 3. Presence versus passive time. Many fathers believe they are present simply because they are physically there, in the same room, in the same house, at the same table. But children experience presence differently. Presence is not proximity. Presence is attention. A father can be physically close and mentally absent, and children notice this immediately. They may not have the language to explain it, but they feel it. Research on child development and attachment consistently shows that responsive attention matters more than total time spent together. Children benefit when a caregiver is emotionally available, even in short intervals. This is important for working fathers. You don't need unlimited time. You need clear, undistracted moments. Passive time happens when attention is divided. A phone in your hand. Your mind still at work. Your body there, but your focus elsewhere. From a child's perspective, passive time sends a subtle message. I'm here, but something else matters more right now. That message is not intentional, but it has an effect. Children often respond by acting out, repeating themselves, or escalating behavior, not because they want attention in general, but because they want connection. A forged mind recognizes this pattern and responds strategically. Instead of trying to be available all the time, it chooses to be fully available some of the time. This is a critical distinction. Studies show that even 10 to 15 minutes of focused one-on-one attention can significantly strengthen a child's sense of security and attachment. The key is that the attention is uninterrupted. No phone, no multitasking, no rushing, just engagement. This does not require entertainment. You don't need to perform. You don't need activities planned down to the minute. Children value being listened to. They value being noticed. They value knowing that for a short window, they have your full attention. A forged mind builds this into daily life intentionally. Not perfectly, intentionally. For working fathers, this might look like a brief check-in after work, a conversation during a meal, a short activity before bed, a few minutes of talk without distraction. The duration matters less than the quality. Passive time, on the other hand, creates confusion. A child may technically be with you for hours, but if attention is fragmented, connection is weak. This is why many fathers feel like they spend time with their kids, but still feel distant. The issue isn't quantity, it's clarity. Another important factor is emotional availability. Presence includes tone, posture, and responsiveness. If you're physically there but emotionally shut down from exhaustion, children feel it. This doesn't mean you need to be cheerful. It means you need to be acknowledging. Even a tired acknowledgement is better than disengagement. A simple response. Eye contact. A calm reply. These small signals reassure children that they are seen. A forged mind understands that presence can be brief and still effective. It doesn't aim for constant engagement. It aims for reliable connection. This approach also protects fathers from burnout. Trying to be constantly engaged is unrealistic. Choosing intentional moments is sustainable. Another practical consideration is how technology affects presence. Phones and screens are not inherently harmful, but unmanaged use competes directly with attention. Children quickly learn when they are competing with a device. This can undermine authority and connection over time. A forged mind sets boundaries around technology, not as a moral stance, but as a practical one. When it's time to be present, attention is undivided. This teaches children something important: that people matter more than distractions, that attention is a form of respect. Over time, this lesson carries into how children relate to others. Presence also builds trust. When a child knows that they will have your attention at certain times, they are less likely to demand it constantly. They become more secure and independent. This is not indulgence, it's structure. A forged mind uses presence strategically. It doesn't chase constant availability. It builds predictable moments of connection that children can rely on. In the next section, we'll talk about modeling behavior and why what children see you do matters more than what you tell them to do. Stay steady. Section 4. Modeling behavior. Why kids watch more than listen. One of the most misunderstood parts of fatherhood is instruction. Many fathers believe their job is to teach through explanation. They talk, they correct, they lecture. But children don't learn primarily through words. They learn through observation. Decades of child development research show that children model behavior far more than they follow instructions. What they see repeatedly becomes normal. What they hear occasionally becomes optional. This means your behavior is always teaching, whether you intend it to or not. A forged mind understands this and takes responsibility for it. Children watch how you handle stress. They watch how you speak when you're frustrated. They watch how you treat other people, especially their mother, coworkers, and strangers. They also watch how you treat yourself. Work ethic is learned by observation. If a child sees a father who shows up consistently, even when tired, that becomes the standard. Not because it's explained, because it's demonstrated. The same is true for emotional regulation. Children do not learn how to manage anger from being told to calm down. They learn it by watching how adults manage their own emotions. When a father handles frustration without exploding, without shutting down, and without blaming others, he teaches a powerful lesson. He teaches that emotions can be felt without losing control. This doesn't mean being emotionless. It means being regulated. A forged mind does not hide emotion from children. It shows emotion handled properly. That might look like acknowledging frustration calmly. It might look like taking a pause instead of reacting. It might look like correcting behavior without anger. These moments teach children that pressure does not require chaos. Another critical area where modeling matters is accountability. Children pay close attention to whether adults take responsibility for mistakes. When a father makes an error and denies it, blames someone else, or avoids it, children absorb that behavior. When a father acknowledges a mistake calmly and corrects it, children learn accountability. This builds integrity. Integrity is not taught through rules. It's taught through example. A forged mind understands that authority is not weakened by accountability. It's strengthened by it. Children trust adults who are consistent and honest more than adults who pretend to be flawless. Another area where modeling is critical is how a father handles obligations. Children notice whether commitments are kept, whether promises are followed through, whether responsibilities are avoided or addressed. This shapes their understanding of reliability. Reliability becomes part of their identity later in life. Not because they were told to be responsible, but because responsibility was normal in their environment. This is why small daily behaviors matter. How you speak about work, how you handle setbacks, how you respond when things don't go your way. These are lessons being taught constantly. A forged mind also recognizes that modeling includes restraint. Children learn self-control by watching adults delay gratification. When a father demonstrates patience, waiting, planning, choosing long-term benefits over short-term comfort, children internalize that behavior. Again, no lecture is required. The behavior itself is the lesson. This also applies to how fathers handle conflict. Children watch how disagreements are managed, whether voices escalate, whether respect remains, whether problems are solved or avoided. A forged mind handles conflict calmly and directly, not perfectly, but intentionally. This teaches children that conflict is part of life, not something to fear or explode over. Another overlooked area of modeling is health and self-care. Children observe eating habits, sleep habits, movement, stress management. They notice whether a father neglects himself entirely or maintains basic care. This shapes their understanding of balance and longevity. A forged mind does not pursue extremes. It demonstrates sustainability. This is especially important for working men. Children learn what adulthood looks like by watching you live it. If adulthood appears chaotic, resentful, or constantly overwhelmed, that becomes their expectation. If adulthood appears steady, responsible, and grounded, even under pressure, that becomes their reference point. This is a heavy responsibility, but also a powerful opportunity. You don't need to be exceptional. You need to be consistent. Children don't need a perfect example. They need a reliable one. In the next section, we'll talk about discipline, boundaries, and safety, and why clear limits actually make children feel more secure, not restricted. Stay steady. Section 5. Discipline, boundaries, and safety. Discipline is often misunderstood. Many fathers associate discipline with punishment, control, or raised voices. In reality, discipline is about safety. Children feel safest when the world around them is predictable. They need to know where the edges are. They need to know what is allowed. They need to know what happens when limits are crossed. Boundaries create that clarity. Without boundaries, children don't feel free. They feel uncertain. Child development research consistently shows that children raised with clear, consistent boundaries experience lower anxiety and better emotional regulation. Structure reduces stress. Chaos increases it. A forged mind understands that discipline is not about domination. It's about guidance. Boundaries tell a child, someone is paying attention. Someone is in control. I don't have to figure this out alone. That message matters more than any punishment ever could. One of the biggest mistakes fathers make is inconsistency. Rules that change depending on mood, fatigue, or convenience create confusion. When consequences are unpredictable, children test more often, not because they want trouble, but because they're trying to understand the system. A forged mind avoids this by keeping boundaries simple and stable. Not many rules. Clear rules. Not harsh enforcement. Consistent enforcement. Discipline does not require intensity. It requires follow-through. When a boundary is crossed, the response should be calm and predictable. No speeches, no escalation, no emotional reactions. The calmer the response, the clearer the lesson. This is difficult when you're tired, but this is exactly when discipline matters most. Children are watching how you handle pressure. When discipline becomes emotional, children learn that authority is unstable. When discipline remains calm, children learn that rules are reliable. Another critical distinction is between discipline and punishment. Punishment focuses on pain or fear. Discipline focuses on learning and correction. The goal is not to make a child feel bad. The goal is to help them understand cause and effect. This builds responsibility. For example, a natural consequence teaches more than anger ever will. If a toy is thrown, it's removed for a period of time. If a rule is broken, a privilege is lost. The consequence is connected to the behavior. This creates understanding. A forged mind avoids using discipline to vent frustration. Discipline is not an outlet, it's a tool. Using it correctly requires emotional control. This is where fathers often struggle. After a long day, patience is low. But children need discipline to be predictable, not perfect. If you lose your temper occasionally, repair matters more than pretending it didn't happen. But consistency should be the goal. Another important function of boundaries is physical safety. Children do not yet understand risk the way adults do. Boundaries protect them while they learn. Clear rules around safety, roads, tools, vehicles, water, and strangers are not negotiable. A forged mind enforces these boundaries firmly and without apology. Safety is not up for debate. Children may resist limits in the moment, but they feel safer knowing those limits exist. This is especially true as children grow older. As independence increases, boundaries must evolve, but not disappear. Rules should adjust with age, but structure should remain. A forged mind adapts boundaries as children mature while maintaining consistency in values. Another overlooked part of discipline is modeling self-discipline. Children learn restraint by watching it. If they see adults ignoring rules, cutting corners, or reacting emotionally, they absorb that behavior. If they see calm enforcement and accountability, they internalize it. This includes how fathers discipline themselves. Following routines, keeping commitments, managing impulses. These behaviors reinforce the legitimacy of boundaries. Children respect rules more when they see adults living by standards themselves. Discipline also works best when expectations are communicated clearly. Children should know what is expected before problems arise. Clear expectations prevent conflict. A forged mind does not wait until frustration builds to enforce boundaries. It sets expectations early and reinforces them calmly. Finally, discipline should preserve dignity. Children should not feel humiliated or shamed. Shame weakens trust. Correction builds it. Firm does not mean cruel. Calm does not mean permissive. Discipline, done correctly, builds confidence and security. Children raised with clear, consistent boundaries grow into adults who understand responsibility, limits, and self-control. In the next section, we'll talk about showing up when you're exhausted and how fathers can remain consistent without burning themselves out. Stay steady. Section 6. Showing up when you're exhausted. Most fathers don't struggle with effort when they're rested. They struggle when they're tired. Long days, physical labor, mental fatigue, responsibilities that don't stop. Exhaustion is the real test of fatherhood. A forged mind accepts this reality instead of fighting it. It doesn't expect to show up the same way every day. It focuses on showing up at all. This is an important distinction. Many fathers believe that if they can't give full energy, it's better to disengage. That belief is damaging. Children do not need peak performance. They need presence. Showing up while tired looks different than showing up energized, and that's okay. What matters is maintaining minimum standards. A forged mind defines what those minimums are, not ideals. minimums. For example, a tired father may not have the energy for play or long conversations, but he can still acknowledge his child. Speak calmly. Follow routines. Enforce boundaries without anger. These actions count. They preserve consistency. Children notice effort, not perfection. Another common mistake fathers make is guilt-driven overcompensation. They feel bad for being tired or unavailable, and they try to make up for it later with excess permissiveness or indulgence. This creates instability. One day the rules matter. The next day they don't. A forged mind avoids this. It does not apologize for being human. It stays steady instead. Exhaustion also affects emotional regulation. Patience is lower. Tolerance is thinner. A forged mind anticipates this. It slows down responses. It pauses before reacting. It chooses calm over speed. This is not about suppressing frustration. It's about controlling behavior despite it. Children learn a powerful lesson here. They see that tiredness does not excuse poor behavior. That responsibility remains. Another practical approach to showing up while exhausted is reducing expectations. Not lowering standards of character, but simplifying interaction. Shorter conversations, quieter routines, predictable patterns. This reduces friction for both father and child. Structure becomes a support system. A forged mind uses routine as a buffer against fatigue. When routines are established, less energy is required to maintain order. This is why bedtime routines, meal routines, and simple daily check-ins matter so much. They carry you when willpower is low. It's also important for fathers to understand that children read energy more than words. When you're exhausted, your tone matters more than your speech. Calm tone, measured pace, simple responses. These signals reassure children even when engagement is limited. Another critical aspect of showing up when tired is avoiding emotional withdrawal. Fatigue can make fathers shut down. Silence, distance, minimal response. This can feel safer in the moment, but over time it creates emotional distance. A forged mind stays emotionally available even if briefly. A nod, a response, a moment of eye contact. These small actions matter. Finally, fathers must accept that exhaustion is not a failure. It's part of providing. The goal is not to eliminate fatigue. The goal is to function responsibly within it. A forged mind respects limits while maintaining standards. It doesn't demand heroics. It demands reliability. Over time, children learn that their father shows up even when it's hard. That lesson is powerful. It teaches endurance. It teaches responsibility. It teaches commitment. In the next section, we'll talk about repairing mistakes without losing authority and how fathers can correct missteps while maintaining trust and leadership. Stay steady. Section 7. Repairing mistakes without losing authority. No father gets it right all the time. Mistakes are not a sign that you are failing. They are a sign that you are involved. What separates good fathers from unreliable ones is not the absence of mistakes, but how those mistakes are handled. Children are paying attention to this more than most men realize. They are not just learning rules, they are learning how adults recover. A forged mind understands that authority is not built on perfection. It is built on credibility. Credibility comes from consistency, honesty, and follow-through. When a father makes a mistake, loses his temper, speaks harshly, reacts poorly, the instinct is often to ignore it or justify it. I was tired. I had a long day. They pushed me. Children hear these explanations as avoidance. Avoidance weakens authority. Repair strengthens it. Repair does not mean surrendering leadership. It means modeling accountability. This is a critical distinction. A forged mind does not apologize to relieve guilt. It corrects behavior to preserve trust. A proper repair is simple and direct. No speeches, no emotional dumping, no over-explaining. A calm acknowledgement is enough. I shouldn't have spoken that way. That wasn't the right response. I'll handle it better next time. This teaches children something powerful. That authority includes responsibility. That strength includes correction. That mistakes are not the end of trust. Research on parenting consistently shows that children benefit when caregivers model accountability. It builds emotional security and teaches problem-solving rather than fear. Importantly, repair should not undermine boundaries. Apologizing does not mean reversing every decision. If a consequence was appropriate, it should remain. A forged mind separates behavior from structure. You can acknowledge a mistake in tone without undoing the rule. This preserves clarity. Children need to know that accountability and boundaries can coexist. Another mistake fathers make is overcorrecting after a misstep. They become permissive. They loosen standards. They try to compensate. This creates confusion. Children do not need compensation. They need stability. Repair is not about swinging to the opposite extreme. It's about returning to center. A forged mind repairs and then resumes standards as normal. This consistency reinforces leadership. Children trust adults who are predictable after conflict. Another important part of repair is timing. Repair should happen once emotions have settled, not immediately in the heat of the moment. Calm repairs teach regulation. Emotional repairs teach instability. Waiting until both sides are calm shows control. It also prevents repair from becoming performative. Children don't need dramatic apologies. They need clarity and sincerity. A forged mind keeps repairs quiet and proportional. Another key element is avoiding self-criticism in front of children. Statements like, "I'm a terrible father," or "I mess everything up," shift emotional responsibility onto the child. That is not fair to them. Repair should reassure, not burden. The message should be, "I'm responsible. You're safe. We're moving forward." That's it. Repair also includes adjusting future behavior. Words without change weaken credibility. Children notice patterns quickly. If the same mistake happens repeatedly without improvement, trust erodes. A forged mind uses mistakes as feedback. It asks quietly, "What broke down? What needs to change?" Then it adjusts systems, not emotions. This might mean slowing responses, creating clearer routines, reducing stress points. Small adjustments prevent repeated failures. Finally, repair teaches resilience. Children who see adults recover from mistakes learn that failure is not catastrophic. They learn that problems can be addressed, that relationships can be repaired, that trust is durable. These lessons follow them into adulthood. A father who models repair gives his children a framework for handling conflict, responsibility, and self-respect. Authority is not lost through repair. It is refined. In the final section, we'll pull everything together and focus on staying steady over years, not moments. Because fatherhood is not about single decisions, but about the man you consistently are. Stay steady. Section 8. Staying steady over years, not moments. Fatherhood is not defined by individual moments. It is defined by patterns. No single day determines whether you are a good father. No single mistake disqualifies you. No single success completes the job. What matters is what repeats. A forged mind understands this. It does not chase perfect days. It builds dependable years. Many fathers judge themselves too harshly because they measure their performance emotionally. They focus on what they felt they should have done. They remember missed opportunities more than consistent effort. This leads to discouragement. A forged mind measures differently. It measures by presence over time, by standards maintained, by trust built slowly. Children do not remember every detail of their childhood. They remember how safe they felt. They remember whether they could rely on you. They remember whether home felt steady. That steadiness is built quietly. It is built in ordinary days handled responsibly. Staying steady over years means accepting that life will interfere. There will be seasons of stress. There will be exhaustion. There will be distractions and setbacks. A forged mind does not interpret these seasons as failure. It adapts without abandoning standards. When life becomes heavy, you simplify. You protect routines. You maintain boundaries. You preserve presence, even if it becomes quieter. This is how consistency survives pressure. Another important part of long-term fatherhood is resisting comparison. Social media and outside voices distort reality. They highlight highlights. They hide effort. A forged mind does not measure itself against other fathers' appearances. It measures itself against its own standards. Are you reliable? Are you calm under pressure more often than not? Do your children know what to expect from you? These questions matter more than appearances. Staying steady also means allowing yourself to change as your children grow. What worked at one age will not work forever. Boundaries evolve. Conversations deepen. Independence increases. A forged mind adjusts while holding core values constant. Structure remains. Respect remains. Presence remains. Another critical long-term principle is patience. Children grow slowly. Lessons take time to land. Behavior improves unevenly. A forged mind does not rush this process. It understands that development is gradual. Just as discipline compounds over years, so does fatherhood. Your influence accumulates quietly. Often you will not see results immediately, but they are forming. One day you will notice maturity where there was once struggle, calm where there was once chaos, confidence where there was once uncertainty. These changes did not happen overnight. They happened because you stayed steady. Finally, staying steady requires self-respect, not ego, not pride. Self-respect built from follow-through. When you live up to your standards as a father, even imperfectly, you earn confidence. That confidence shows in your posture, in your tone, in your decisions. Children sense it. They feel safer when their father is grounded in himself. This is the quiet strength of fatherhood. Not control, not dominance, reliability. If you carry one idea forward from this guide, let it be this. You do not need to be exceptional. You need to be consistent. You do not need to be everywhere. You need to be dependable where you are. Fatherhood is not about moments of intensity. It is about years of presence. This is forged mind. Stay steady.